Excellent. All right. Good evening. I'm Michelle Rehill. I'm the chairperson of the Northborough Library Board of Trustees, and I call this meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. I will begin by reading the governor's advisory. This open meeting of the Library Board of Trustees is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. All members of the Library Board of Trustees are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the Library Board of Trustees to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. I will now do the roll call of members in attendance. When I call your name, please answer that you are present. Brittany Burns.
Brittany Burns, present.
All right. Mitch Cohen.
Mitch Cohen, I'm here.
Pat Font.
Pat Font, present.
Jim Hogan.
Jim Hogan here.
Jocelyn McElhenney.
Jocelyn McElhenney here.
Beth Samus.
Beth Samus here.
Richard Tucker.
Richard Tucker here.
Thank you. And I'm Michelle Rehill. I'm here. And we also have Library Director Jen Bruno with us. Having gotten that out of the way. Now, the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2023 meeting. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved. Jocelyn.
Second.
Was that Mitch? Thank you.
It was, yes.
All righty. Are there any questions about this before we vote to accept them? Sorry. Nothing? All right. I'll do roll call for approval of the minutes. Brittany Burns.
Brittany Burns, aye.
Mitch Cohen.
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Pat Fonts.
Pat Font, aye.
Jim Hogan.
Jim Hogan, aye.
Jocelyn McElhenney.
Jocelyn McElhenney, aye.
Beth Samus.
Beth Samus, aye.
Richard Tucker.
Richard Tucker, aye.
And I, Michelle Rehill, also say aye. Motion carries in the affirmative unanimously. All right. Appropriations report.
Anybody have any questions about it?
Nope. Nothing? All righty. If nobody has any questions or comments about the appropriations report, I'll just say great job, and we will move on to the library director's report.
Right. There is one small update about the lights, because when I sent it, everything worked. And then two of the outdoor lights stopped working. So I did see their truck. They were back today working on some of the other lights. I guess there were a few small lights that they had to come back to convert. But two of the parking lot lights stopped working, and they're trying to figure out why. So just wanted to put that out there, since I had put in the report that everything was working and the parking lot was well lit at night. So if you go by it, you will notice that that's not quite true. It is very bright. It is better than it has been, but there are two lights that are still under construction. Other than that, did anybody have any questions about anything in the report?
I have a question about the numbers on the Halloween. So we had roughly 210 attendees, but then the numbers down below, when I added them up, they looked much greater than that. Am I doing something wrong?
So the 210 attendees would be under that family category, which is, there were 4 total programs that fit into the family programming category for a total attendance of 465. 210 of that was the haunted house.
Okay. And then I had one other question. On your resource guide, I'm working on a magnet design. What is that?
So basically what we want to start doing is referring people to the online version of the resource guide. We will still have some in print, but because the print version can go obsolete basically as soon as it goes to print sometimes, we thought that what we would do is make a refrigerator magnet that you
Oh,
could
okay.
put, yeah.
Okay.
So what it would do is it would tell you what it is, and there'd be a QR code and a website. So
So
you
I had
can,
a friend years ago who said to his wife, "We need to buy a new refrigerator." And she said, "Why?" Like that, we still have some room. And he said, "We have no room on the door."
No room for more magnets?
I mean, more room for magnets. I have that problem actually right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty.
I've got a question on the use of library collections, which I love those numbers. There are some yellow boxes on there, and I don't remember seeing bendable before. I may have missed it, but I'm curious what
Thank
that
you.
is.
Yes. So 2 of the yellow boxes, those are the single yellow boxes. We just didn't have the stats for that month yet.
Okay.
Usually those are a month behind. So those were not available at the time that the report was being readied, so they're blank. Bendable is something that we have not quite launched yet. We were hoping to have launched it by now. But it's not quite, there's still some back end finagling that they're doing. But basically, Bendable combines some of their own subscriptions to online courses that you could take. So different language learning, job skills, business things, integrates it with some of the resources that we have, such as Mango, which is a language learning database, and LinkedIn Learning. And I think there's a couple others that they're sort of weaving in together. So when you do a search through Bendable, it will kind of bring up a list of all of the different resources that are available to you. And it goes as far as like if we have a program. So if you're looking for like a resume course, and we happen to be having a program that's in our calendar, it will pull that out and it will show you that result as well. So you can, it's kind of a more customizable way of accessing some of our online resources. And we hope to go live with that very soon. There were a couple of things. We actually did a soft launch and there were some issues with it. So we just pulled it back down. But it's a very new product that Baker and Taylor, which is one of our large booksellers, just purchased and partnered with to make available for libraries. So Northborough will actually be one of the first in the country to have it.
Ooh.
I think there are only like 5 or 10 others that actually were launching it when we talked to them about it. So we're being patient with them because they're still working out some kinks.
Good. Thank you. That's
Oh,
exciting.
I'm sorry. I just thought of something too. One of the things that they're working on is the Northborough Guide business resource listing or business listing. They can actually take that and put it into a community partners collection as well. So it's a little more searchable. So if you were looking for like, painter or something like that, if you did a search for paint, it would come up with like a painter that was local or something. Craftworks is a good one that would come up. So yeah, we're looking forward to kind of seeing it develop because they have like a really good 3-5 year plan for what they want to do with it. And it really fits into what we're trying to do with making everything more accessible, easy to find. And yeah, kind of, we're hoping that it will up the usage of the databases, just because we have these great resources, but it's hard to market them all without, 400 bookmarks. So this will just kind of make it a little bit easier to find it.
Thank you.
Interesting.
All right. Any other comments before we move to the issue of the closures, the November 22nd closure, which is under our new business? No other library director questions. All right, then we'll move on to the November 22nd closure. Jen, do you want to present that?
Yes, thank you. So I had remembered, I believe it was last year, we ran into a little bit of a back and forth discussion about the select board had voted to close the town offices a little bit earlier than we were planning to be closed that day. And they don't really make closing decisions for the library. That's really this board. So there was a little bit of like, okay, what do we do? So I thought maybe I would just try to like mitigate that this year and just put it on our agenda. I checked with the town administration to make sure that it was something they were going to discuss again. So you see it on your agenda tonight, because I believe it will be on the next agenda for the select board to close at noon on Wednesday, the 22nd. Now, because they haven't voted, your motion, I guess, would be more to authorize me to kind of close the library in keeping with whatever decision they make. Because obviously if that's, if they decide not to close town offices at noon, then we would just keep to our 3:00 regular prior, determined closing time. But obviously if they close at noon, we'd like to kind of be in line with that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Jen or any comments they'd like to make about that?
The only thing I would suggest is that should we end up closing at noontime on Wednesday, shout it from the rooftops. Because I can only see parents whose kids have the afternoon off from school trying to stop by, and then they're going to be really disappointed. So this way, if you can get ahead of it, be great.
Yeah, the select board would vote on Monday evening, and I usually watch those live. My husband likes them too, so sit and eat popcorn and watch the select board. We're so cool.
Did I eat popcorn during the meeting too? That would be...
You should. I don't see why that would be a problem. It's like a mouthful of food trying to run a meeting. What could go wrong? So Pat, we would basically have something ready to go on Tuesday morning. And we're already advertising that we're closing a little bit early that day. So traditionally, I did look back, it has not been a busy day for us. So I don't think it'll be too many people that are disappointed. They're usually not banging down the door on Wednesday.
I'll add it. It is on the draft agenda for the select board meeting, as you were correctly told, Jen.
Perfect.
And the way the motion is, or the item is worded, it excludes the library explicitly to give this board the authority rather than the select board over the library, which is, I think, how it should be done.
Okay. Does anybody else have a comment or question about it? Hearing none. I would appreciate it if someone would make the motion to allow the library director to close the library early on Wednesday, November 22nd, in alignment with any decision of the select board to close other town offices early. Should the select board not vote to close town offices early, the library will keep to its previously determined hours of operation.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you, Jim. I'm sorry, who seconded?
Beth.
Beth, thank you. All righty, roll call vote. All those in favor of the motion to close the library early on Wednesday, November 22nd, please say aye. Brittany?
Brittany Burns, aye.
Thank you. Mitch?
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Pat?
Pat Fonts, aye.
Jim?
Jim Hogan, aye.
Jocelyn?
Jocelyn McKelney, aye.
Beth?
Beth Samus, aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And Michelle Rehill also says aye. Motion carries unanimously in the affirmative. All righty. Then we will move on to the item for the 2024 holiday and professional development closures. You have that list in front of you. And thanks to Kristen for organizing this.
She is on it.
She's got them all.
She is so organized.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about these? I don't think there's anything unusual from past years.
I have one.
Okay.
I think it's a typo because this year it's Wednesday, the 22nd, and in the list for next year, the early closing is listed as the 22nd, and I think it should be the 27th.
Very true.
So barring that one typo,
For the
I have
Thanksgiving.
no issues with the list. Yeah.
And which date was that?
The early closing days is listed as the wrong date for next year. It should be the
For
27th.
Thanksgiving, I'm sorry. Just
Sorry,
for
yes, the early closing for Thanksgiving. My apologies.
Should be the 27th.
Yes.
Thanks.
All righty. Thank you for catching that one.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. I will amend that before it gets posted to the public.
Just looking, I was like, it's really odd to see Thanksgiving on the same day 2 years in a row. I mean,
Yeah.
time has no meaning anymore, but that stuck out as maybe weird.
You know, next year is a leap year.
That's what I just, that was, hey, anything can happen. Nothing,
you know.
nothing matters anymore.
I don't have next year.
But what, I actually am on my work computer, so I scrolled ahead 11 months just to double check that what I was seeing was right. And while we're on this list, do we think there's the possibility that we're going to be in the same position next year as we are this year, that the town might consider closing early? And if so, is that something we can address now? Whether we asterisk the closing on this list, what's the feeling of the board?
Yes. My suggestion is to wait. My request will be to just make it a standard policy.
Okay.
So the select board doesn't have to vote on it every year like we have been. But I'm not going to do that right now because we have an interim town administrator. I'm going to wait until sometime after somebody is hired, hopefully really, really soon. And then suggest that be voted on an annual basis or by standard policy.
Okay.
Just to put it to bed. So there was 1 year we almost forgot.
Okay, well,
Would it make sense for us to just make that a 12 p.m. closing for the library regardless in anticipation?
The only concern there is I'm only one of 5 select board members. Let's say a majority of the select board does not want to do that this year or some future year. I hope that doesn't happen, but it could. Then the library would be closing earlier than other offices, and there would be some inconsistency that might upset a few people.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was my thinking too. Sorry, Michelle. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's why I was going to say if the select board is considering making it a policy like ongoing, so you don't have to revisit it every year, then you could wait until they do that at some point in the future and then make it official. Libraries early closing days.
I just feel bad leaving it till the Monday before Thanksgiving for the library staff trying to to make plans. I think that seems a little late, but
What I can do if it helps, Brittany, is keep it on my radar earlier next year so that like maybe we're having like I'll just wait and see what the select board decides and then when there's a new town administrator, I'll just if I don't see it come up, I'll just start the conversation a little bit earlier so that we're, not 3 days before.
Maybe start asking them in September.
yeah, I just feel
Yeah,
bad for
or-
the late notice for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel the
We
same way.
always have, I mean, Mitch is always here to give us a heads up as soon as possible. So I think we're okay.
Okay, and just to, I just double checked my calendar. And that it is the 27th. Because somebody was, I was just double checking. I wanted to make sure it was really for next Thanksgiving. If it's the closure would be on Wednesday, November 27th. Because, as you say, it's a leap year. Alrighty. Are there any other issues about the closures? Oops, I'm looking at the wrong page. The holidays, the closures, and early closings. If there are no other questions or comments, would someone like to make a motion to accept the closures for 2024 as presented with the one correction? Thank you, Richard.
I'll second.
Is that Brittany?
To Brittany.
All right. All right, all those in favor of accepting the list of holiday closings and early closing days for 2024, please say aye. Brittany?
Brittany Burns, aye.
Mitch?
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Pat?
Pat Fonts, aye.
Jim Hogan?
Jim Hogan, aye.
Jocelyn?
Jocelyn McKelney, aye.
Beth?
Beth Thomas, aye.
Richard?
Pepper, aye.
And Michelle Riesel also says aye. Motion carries in the affirmative unanimously. Affirmative, not infirmative. All right, it's been a long day. The third item on the agenda is policy updates. There are no policy updates for us this month, so we get to skip right over that item and save it for a future date. Is there any other business that may come before the board? Does anybody have anything that they would like to bring up?
I just had one question, if that's okay. Was the sample wording of the motion, Jim or anybody, was that helpful to have
Very.
that? Okay, I can start doing that for any vote that we have. I can just kind of prepare that for you ahead of time. if
Really
that's
good.
helpful.
Thank you.
Sure.
That would be fabulous. Thank you for thinking of that. All right. If there's no other business before the board, the date of the next meeting is December 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. and it will be a remote meeting. So I would be happy to entertain. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Happy to. It's been a long day.
How about I move we adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Mitch.
I second.
Thanks, because obviously I don't have my words tonight.
You're fine.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, Brittany?
We have a second.
I did. Pat.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Fonts.
Was it Pat?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Pat and I both did.
I was like, Mitch jumped on it too. Everyone's ready to go. We're done.
Apparently.
Whoever you want to give it to,
I'm gonna give it to Pat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Jim? All right, Brittany. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Brittany?
Brittany Burns, aye.
Mitch?
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Pat?
Pat Fonts, aye.
Jim,
Jim Hogan, aye.
Jocelyn,
Jocelyn McKelney, aye.
Beth,
Beth Thomas, I.
Richard,
Richard, aye.
Michelle Rehill also says aye. The motion carries unanimously in the affirmative. This meeting is adjourned at 7:29 p.m. Thank you all. See you next month. And hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving, everybody.
everyone.